everybody, welcome back to the channel. Big hello to all the new subs. Just gonna do a video here on some of the stuff I've got that's come in for repair, and but I'm also going to point out on this one little motor, it can be the simplest things that if you neglect them, they can take out your engine. This is a real good example of that. I'm sure there's nothing really major wrong with this little kicker. The kicker in question is one of these little, I believe all of them are made in Hong Kong. It doesn't matter whether it's I've seen them Johnson, Nissan, Tohatsu. In this case, it's a Mercury. They're 3.3 horsepowers, and they're great little motors. I don't think it matters which one you buy. They're all basically a carbon copy of the other. They just paint them different and put different decals. But this is a real good example of something very minor that can literally take out a motor. Now, the owner of this motor, it's a couple that lives on a sailboat, and they said they depend on this little motor to get them in and out of the harbors. And if it were me and this was the motor that I depended on to get me and my house in and out of the harbor, I sure would take better care of it. But in this case, it's just that same old abuse, that just neglect, abuse, not taking care of a good little motor. And I'll show you some of the things, and then I'll show you some of the other stuff that come in that I've got to get going on yet. But let's take a look at this one. There it is. Pretty little Mercury. Which, like I said, all these, I think, the sticker on this one, which would go right there, right in there, it's gone or rubbed off or wore off or whatever. But they all look the same in the front. But one of the biggest problems she said that she was having with this, that she didn't like until it quit running, was the fact that it would, once it started, they put it up to high and it would just fall back down and go back down and to idle. So that was bugging her. But if you look at this rope, the pull recoil rope, this is what they were using. Just put their fingers in there, you know. But what it is this grommet thing here is so rusty that it's shredding the line, the cord. If you look at that, how rusty that is, it's just from being in salt water, and it's just eating this cord up, fraying it. Well, once that happened, let's take the bonnet off there. And there was many rusty things. These bolts I almost didn't get out that hold the little recoil on. But I've already blew it off with compressed air, but you can see some of it right there. It was just caked, and if you look at that line, it's all frayed right there. And so let's take that off, and you can get a better understanding. Look at, you see that there? Well, that's what was all over that carburetor. And it went right in there, which then went right through there and clogged this carburetor up. So there was wads of that stuff all around and in that intake there. So something as simple as a frayed up line pull cord from a rusty grommet that is part of the pull cord there, took this little motor to where it wouldn't start. So I'm going to have to pull that carburetor off, clean all that out of there, clean as much rust. There's quite a bit of rust. That clamp there is about gone, and there's what the nuts and bolts look like, just full of rusty powder. So she got a little salt on her. So we'll clean it all up. I'll wash it first. Tiller handle's about to fall off. See what I can do about that. Just neglect, abuse. Run them till they die. And that's what this one, like I said, but sometimes something simple can take your motor out. And I'll show you a couple other things that have come in for repair. This 25 here, 4-stroke Yamaha, is just for a winterization. This 30 Johnson, not sure what all I'm going to find on it, but it was just a non-runner. Feels like it has good compression. Again, abuse, neglect, salt. And then here's some of the other ones that come in. This 15 here, owner believes it's getting water in one of the cylinders. So most likely a bypass exhaust port gasket or head gasket. 25 Tohatsu 2-stroker. He wants me to go through everything. Hasn't had an impeller since it was new and it's over 15 years old. Says it still pees fine though. And he just wants an overall tune-up. The little Yamaha here. I put the power head on that Yamaha about 2 years ago, and he says it won't start, and I think he said he got it started and it'll just die. So it's probably the carburetor's all yucked up, fuel pump maybe. The 20 horse, I already went through it. It had a stuck gear selector handle. It was just caked up with salt and corrosion, so I took that off, and I'll show you what I had to do to get that apart. But it seems to run fine now. The 15 Tohatsu 4-stroke. I'll show you. That one wasn't peeing water, or not peeing water well. I wonder why. So I'm waiting on that impeller. It's on its way here because it was roached. So I'll be getting that in any day. But here's what I had to do. Here's where their tiller handle was stuck. Was this bolt that it was actually seized in here. In the plastic part was seized to the metal. And the bolt wouldn't budge at all, and I could tell it was going to snap off. So I had to drill a series of holes and squirt lubricant and penetrating oil down in there, and you can see I heated her up good and hot a few times, and I finally got the bolted back out, and now she's nice and loose and shifts fine. So that's what I had to do there. So that's what I've got coming in. There's the little 3-point tree, and I'll get this carb apart and everything. If I find anything that's unusual or whatever, I'll video it. But that's about everything I got going so far. So, like I said, abuse, neglect. Something as simple as a rusted up grommet and salt and a frayed cord can take out your engine. So I'll get this all cleaned up, and once I take this cord out of here, I'll get this all cleaned up and put something there so that it won't fray it like that. So that's what I got going. Just a quick video on what's come in and what I'll be doing. If anybody wants to see anything on any of those engines I just showed or whatever, putting a water pump in a Tohatsu is pretty straightforward. And so I'm going to get on this little Mercury and see if we can get her going. I'll make a quick vid real quick after I clean it up and everything, and I'll show you it running. So I'll be right back. Okay, here's the, I took the little carb off, and you can see a whole lot of that frayed cord made it in there, made it into the little, there's some of it right there. More of it up there. And it's in the bowl as well. There's the bowl. Hopefully you can see that. It's in the bowl. Gobs of it. There, that is out of the bowl. So just gobs of it, and that's. So I'll just clean this carb up in the bowl. Spray it out with just regular old carb cleaner and compressed air, and take the slider out and all that, the throttle slider. That ought to be good. So, and then the way I'm going to clean this is I put a little wire brush. I have these wire brushes. You can get them anywhere, pretty much. Harbor Freight, Home Depot. They just clip into your drill driver. And just take that and stick it in the end of that thing where it was fraying really bad. There you go. You can see that come out of there. Then I'll put a couple things of paint on it probably, and that'll be all. You can also get all the rest of that yuck and rust out of there, or get a lot of it anyway. So you get the idea. So I'll clean this up, and you do have to take pretty much everything apart on this pull start to get to the cord, because it fastens in up under. So that goes there, and then there's some springs and clips and all, and I'll try and film that once I get it all cleaned up and painted. So be right back. Alright, I cleaned up the end of the recoil. There's the spring inside the cup and the cap. I put a new cord on the sheave here, and then you just take it and drop it down in there. There's the knot, and you can see these little catches right in here. Catch, in theory. So let's see if we can get that to drop in there. There it went. Whoops. There it goes. And then what I'm doing here is I'm going to feed this in through the first little hole anyway. There we go. Hopefully you can see how that goes. And then I grease the spring, and you've got this little piece, the dog, and there's a boss thing there for it. You just put it on that boss like that. All right, I put the well, let me back it off. I'll show you. Put the cord on there. Alright. So wrap the cord on there. You can see the knot. The knot faces down. There's a couple little catches like I showed you. Try this again. Cord. Get it through that hole. Now I got to get that seat down in there. Airplane. Alright. Now you've got 4 different pieces here. Excuse me, 5. You got this spring, it goes on first onto the post. Then you got this little spring cap. It goes onto the post. Then you got this spring, which is the tricky one. It goes into the hole there. There's 2 holes. I don't think it matters. You just pick the one that's closest to you. Okay. I'll try and show all this, but it's hard. And this spring fits over that spring cap and the other spring. Okay. Alright. Then you got the dog. It goes over the boss there. And then this piece is the tricky piece. You see these 2 slots, that's where the spring goes. And you see this lip right here, this little edge. This has to be facing up as you put this down. So this piece goes only one way. This faces toward you, toward the sky. Okay. Then you line up the slot with that little L-shape or S-shaped tang there. And you put it in there. Trying to keep everything together. Alright. There. Yay. And that'll give you enough room to put the washer and the E-clip on. And this washer has a flat side. You just have to take my word for it. That goes on there, and then the E-clip. And you got to put quite a bit of force on that downward force to get the room to put the E-clip in. There, got it. There. Now we got to put this through there. I say that. There we go. Come on. Now, you can see the dog's in the in position when I pull it out. I hope I explained that good enough. It's hard to do, but hopefully you saw the sequence. Now, if this don't feel like it's got enough spring pullback on you, you see that little slot right there. That's so that you can take this cord and put in that and give it a couple more winds. So you just got to work that in there like so, and now you can give it a couple more winds. Now I'll feed it back through there and it should draw it back up in there better. And yes, you got to hold all this stuff. While you're doing this. Whew. I'm going to get it. Turn it. There is one. Now we're going to wind that a little more so I can pull my line on through. At least I hope I can. We're almost there. Back in my slot there. Which I don't know if I can do or not. There. Ta-da. There. Now I'm trying to hold all this and get the other part of it. Feel through. And now if I let go, it's going to draw that all the way back in. So I'm just going to tie me a knot until I find my pull handle that I'll use. So there that is. And I've already got the carb cleaned up and back on. There that is. So I've got a few nuts and stuff to clean up, a little greasing to do, and we'll be ready to start it up. So let me get the pulse recoil start back on and we'll go from there. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, wrapping up on this little 3.3 Mercury, a couple interesting things. I've got it done and came out pretty good. Just mostly abuse and neglect. One thing that was interesting, I was looking through my manuals and my parts rack. I have a set of books over here that just are parts schematics. And I was looking through all that, and it shows that there is a little Merc that looks exactly like these Hong Kong engines made in Belgium. And because this one has no stickers or anything, I can't date it, so I don't know what year this is. But they do show one exactly like the one I have here, made in Belgium. But they also, I have seen several that look identical to it. Johnson, Nissan, and others that were made in Hong Kong. So this looks Hong Kong to me, but according to my manuals and so forth, there is an engine just like this one made in Belgium. So who knows, maybe it's made in Belgium. But I want to show you a couple things real quick that you can do, that you should do. When I was taking the recoil off this, you see these flat washers and lock washers, they're just solid rust. This is just mild steel, and that's what you get. And of course that runs all down over your recoil and your cylinder block and all that. Next time you're up at the Hanky hardware store, pick up a couple flat washers and lock washers like that. And then the more things you take off your outboard, every time you put them back, put a good coating of that gray anti-seize. This is a Napa brand, anti-seize lubricant, advanced formula, yada yada. The important thing is make sure it's gray colored. You don't want to use this copper colored stuff. This is for your brake caliper bolts and stuff like that on your car, not your outboard. Aluminum and copper do not like each other. So get this gray stuff. Get rid of this mild steel crap everywhere you can on your outboard, especially if you use it in salt water. Pick up the nice stainless stuff, coat it really good with the gray anti-seize, you'll be good to go. Alright, so here's the little motor. She came out pretty nice, cleaned up pretty nice. Let's give her a run and I'll show you some other things. Forward! That's in forward. Moves a lot of water. Peeing good. Cleaned up real nice. The tiller handle's nice and tight now. Sorry. Got that all tightened up. That's neutral. Alright, show you a couple more things. Alright, Now you can see these bolts have a nice coat of anti-seize on them. No rust. I got all that rust off there. Recoil's put back together nice. Like I said, the tiller handle now is tight. Cleaned up the carburetor really nice. And overall, nice little kicker. Has a fuel off and on switch, so we'll cut that back off. And one of her biggest complaints was that this wouldn't stay up. And that was just a matter of tightening a bolt that's on here. That's on the other side. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, right there. It's just a Phillips screw, and I put Loctite on that. So that, and when it came in, it had a piece of pull cord as the kill switch, and I put a real kill switch on it. So basic stuff, nice little kicker. If you notice, grease, anti-seize. Oh yeah, and I put a nice little pull handle. They had a knot. And there's the thing that was causing the fray. I put several coats of paint and primer around that to stop it, and then I put a little teeny starter handle on it. So, that's all there is to this video. Nice little Mercury. Might be made in Belgium, not sure. I've seen Hong Kong ones made that look just like it. This one could have been made in Belgium. And you can see neutral forward. If you want reverse, you spin it around 180. So that's all there is to this vid. But again, can't get enough of it. So don't use the copper. Replace the rusty with the stainless. Thanks for watching.